All right, on to chapter 3. Let's see. Oh, this is not plugged in. No wonder it won't write. That would help, wouldn't it? Plug it in. Maybe a little bit. There we go. Now it works. Okay, so actually I put 2. I put 1. I forgot that we. Oops. So 2. Midterm 2. All right. This might be one of the harder tests that we had, isn't it? So far this year? Could be, I don't know. Let's go through the first part kind of quick, but then this stuff right in here we'll need to really settle in on. Yep, slope, standard form, all that good stuff. All right. Okay. So let's see if we can get through this today. There's a lot of stuff to do. All right, so you remember this? You got parallel lines, transversal, right? 2 parallel lines cut by transversal. Do you remember the deal with that? Remember the alternate? Where are you going? Forgetting something? Yeah. Remember this? So look, 5 and 4, what are they to each other? Alternate interior angles. 3 and 6 are also alternate interior angles. What's true about alternate interior angles when you got parallel lines cut by transversal? They're equal to each other. What about 7 and 3, 8 and 4, 5 and 1, 6 and 2? What are they? No, they're not alternate. They're corresponding angles. Okay, they're corresponding angles. What's true about corresponding angles when you got 2 parallel lines cut by transversal? They are the same. Look, 7 and 3 are the same. 5 and 1, they're equal to each. They're not the same because they're not the same angle because this angle's way up here, this angle's down here. So we can't say they're the same. We say that they're what to each other? They're equal to each other. Okay, you can say congruent as well, but the measure of the angles are equal to each other. 8 and 4 are equal, 6 and 2 are equal because they're corresponding angles. Okay, enough of that. Basically, even if you didn't know those names, corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior, if you don't know those names, you could still look at them and say which ones are equal. Look, all the obtuse angles are equal to each other. So what else is equal to 7? Really quick, what's equal to 7? Well, let's stay up here. 7 and 6 and 3 and 2. They're all equal. Okay, what's equal to 8? 5, 1 and 4. That's right. You're welcome. All right. So keep all that stuff in mind. So what's true about 6 and 4? They're not equal to each other because this is obtuse and this is acute. But there is a relationship between them. What is the relationship? What is it? They equal 180. They add up. Okay, let's not say they equal 180 because 6 is not 180, 4 is not 180, but what do? They add up to equal 180. All right, everybody got that? So let's do the rest. So 5 and 1. Let's look at the relationship between 5 and 1. Okay, they're both acute, so they're both what? Equal to each other. So if angle 1 is 47, what's angle 5? 47. Okay? What about this one, 6 and 4? Well, look, I put 1 arc for all the acute angles. 4 is also acute, right? But 6 is not acute, so I'm going to put 2 arcs for that one. So what's true about 6 and 4 then? And give me a word. What did you say? Okay, that's not one word, but they do add up to 180. You're right. They're supplementary, right? That's the word. All right, so they add up to 180, which means they're supplementary. That's the word I was looking for. All right, so what do we do to solve for angle 6 then? That's it. It's 180 minus 55. What's that? 125? Is that right? So that's 125 degrees right here. All right, what about this one? Find angle 2. 2 and 7. Let's look at the relationship between 2 and 7. Well, 7 also has 2 arcs, right? Because 6 does. They're equal to each other. And 2. So what's true about 2 and 7? They equal each other. So what are we going to do with this and this? We're going to set them equal to each other. Okay, so let's do that. I'll put I'll put the bigger one on the left. Whoops, it's supposed to be a 4. Just makes it a little bit easier. Let's get x by itself. Subtract 2x from both sides, we get what? 4x. Subtract a 4 from both sides, we get 4. Divide by 4, we get 1. Is that my answer, though? No, they asked for angle 2, all right? But you need to know what x is. So 2 times 1 is 2 plus 8 is 10. So what's angle 2? It's 10 degrees. Make sense? Yeah. All right. Distance. You got to know the distance formula. I don't have much room on here to write. Actually, I could. Can I write? I don't think I can. I write on this? No. I can write on that, but I don't have that much room. I'll tell you what I could do. Watch this. Maybe. Click on it. Did I click on it or not? Okay. Boom. Boom. There we go. That's what I wanted. Look, I can just move that out there. Now I got some room to write. Where are we in here? 4. So the distance between, I'll just push this over so I can use this room to write. Let's get rid of this thing. All right. What do we got? Distance formula. This is something you have to memorize. We had to memorize it. Sorry, I'm going right in between here, but it's okay. I think you're all right with that. Remember this? This is something you're going to have to memorize. We haven't done this in a long time, right? So you may want to go back and practice it, all right? Because it's been a while. So what are we doing here? X what? 1 minus x2. y1 minus y2. So that's our distance formula. You need to know that to be able to do this. So I want to find the distance between these 2 points right here and right here. So let's do it. Distance equals, put a big square root again. Put these things. I call this the shell, just because it's kind of like the outside of it, right? And now we're going to put in the stuff into the shell. All right, what are we going to put in? Well, I subtract the x's from each other. Doesn't matter what order you subtract the x's. Makes no difference, okay? So let's just go the first one minus the second one. Is that all right? Since we went x1 minus x2. So what is it? It's 2 minus what? Negative what? 4. See that? There's my x. There's my x. I subtract them. 2 minus negative 4. Let's do the y's now. What do we have? Negative 5 minus what? Negative 8. Okay, that adds up. Let's do this kind of quick. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 squared is 36. What about this one? That adds up. That adds, right? So that's a 3 squared is 9. And what do you get? 45. Right, square root of 45. All right? You can leave it like that. In Algebra 2, you're going to get to a point, you're going to do a chapter. We haven't even got to that yet. I'm teaching Algebra 2 right now, currently, and we haven't even got to this chapter yet. I think it's going to come up in a chapter or 2 from where we are. But you will have to simplify this eventually. Right now, in geometry class, I'll let you keep it just like that. It's perfectly fine. But just for fun, let's do it together. 9 times 5 is 45, isn't it? What do we do? Remember, I've taught this before to you. Remember, we split this up into their 2 square roots. What's the square root of 9? 3 times the square root of 5. So this is the same exact thing as that. Eventually, when you get to Algebra 2, this is how you're going to have to write down that answer, okay? So if you got the square root of 45, you're going to have to write it 3 times the square root of 5. It's the same exact thing. We okay? Any of this coming back to you? Yes? No? Not many people are talking to me today. Story of my life. All right, enough of that. What's this one? Find the what? The midpoint. Well, the coordinate of the what? Of the midpoint. So I'll keep it right there so you can see the word midpoint. So let's find the midpoint. Well, we need to know a formula. The midpoint is a point, correct? And how do we write a point? As an ordered pair. All right, here's how I like to start it off. I like to put the parentheses, the comma. I like to put divided by 2 because you're finding the mid, right, the middle, okay, of the point. So what am I going to do here? Now this is a little bit different. I'm going to do something with the x's. What am I going to do with the x's this time? Am I? I'm going to add them. If I want to do it right, I'm going to add them. Okay, and then what do I do with the y's? I add those. It's the only one of these three things right here that you add. All right, everything else is subtract. The midpoint is add. All right, so midpoint equals, I'm going to do this again, comma, put this over 2, put this over 2. Now I can actually put the numbers in. So here's my numbers. So what am I going to do with the x's? I add them together. So it's -2 plus what? -6. Now let's add the y's together. I should have given myself some more room. It's 5 plus what? Negative, not 3. It's not a 3. What is it? It's a -3. That's like me saying, what is this number? And you say 17. It's just as bad. All right? So this is a -3, not a 3. Here we go. This is -8 over 2. And this is 2 over 2. My CP class just took a test on this, and they actually had the same exact problem on the test. And I had kids say, do I have to reduce the fractions? What do you think I said? You think I said no? Of course I said yes. All right, you always reduce your fractions. Don't leave it like this. And then that would be the answer. That right there is the only acceptable answer for a problem like that. Everybody got it? All right, next one. I'll keep that there for a sec. Let me see what we're doing here. This time we're finding the slope. Remember what slope is? Rise over run, everybody says that, but it's not y equals mx plus b. It's just finding the slope. The slope is the m of the y equals mx plus b. We're just finding the slope. How do you find the slope? What do you do to the top? You subtract the y's. It doesn't matter what order you subtract them in, as long as what? You're doing the same order. Like for midpoint and distance, you could go the first one minus the second one on one of them, and then go the second one minus the first one on the other one. It's not going to make any difference. Okay? But on this one, it absolutely makes a difference. So whatever order you subtract these in, you got to do the top and the bottom in the same order. All right. Normally we go y2 minus y1. Agreed? All right, so I'm not even going to, yeah, let's write it in there. Might as well. y2 minus y1, because I did it for the other ones. And this is x2 minus x1. What do you think a common mistake that people make would be for finding the slope? Putting the x on the top. Exactly right. Okay, because you think x comes first, right? So you just figure, well, x must go on the top. No, the y goes on the top. Why? How do you know the y goes on the top? Because it's rise, right, over run. Rise goes up and down along the y-axis, and x is the run. It goes along the x-axis. Okay, so let's do it. Xavier, you getting all this? Yeah, I just love it. Had a kid in my other class. He's complaining, Mr. Hammer, I don't know how to do this. And every day I reviewed 2 days for that test in CP. 2 days, okay? He slept the whole time, both days. And he's got the nerve to whine to me about he doesn't know how to do this stuff. You know what I mean? Do you think I'm going to sit there and take that? No, I'm not, okay? I have no mercy whatsoever, okay? All right. Just thought I'd get that off my chest. Thanks for listening. Okay. All right. So where's my points right here? Here it is. So let's subtract the y's. Let's go the second one minus the first one, since that's how we wrote it. 7 minus what? Is it 7 minus 2? 7 minus what? -2, right? 7 and -2. Let's subtract the x's now in the same order, all right? So it's going to be what? -1 minus what? -4. And now we just simplify this. 7 minus negative is plus, that's a 9. And this is a plus, that's a 3. Always reduce it, 3, and just leave it like that. If you want to put it 3 over 1, it's fine. Wouldn't be wrong, just don't need to. Yes, ma'am. I don't know. Haven't made it up yet. I'd say some of them I'll use the same numbers and some I won't. How's that? But I'm not going to tell you which ones. All right, here we go. Determine whether they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. I have a feeling since this is a midterm, I'm not going to have two of them on the midterm, but probably just be one of those, all right? But, so just for the sake of time, let's pick one. Do you have a particular favorite? I don't know. Number 8? Okay, let's do that then. AB and CD. So AB is together, so that makes it kind of easy. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to determine, are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Well, how do I know? What do I look for in order to determine if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither?
So the slope is going to be the same.
The slope, right. That's what I was looking for. You want to find the slopes, okay? So, continue. If the slopes are the same, then they're what? Then they're parallel.
And then if they're switched and has a
Negative reciprocal. That's the phrase I was looking for. Right, then it's perpendicular. And if neither one of those things is true, then it's neither, okay? So really, all we're doing is just finding the what? Just finding the slope. That's all we're doing, okay? We already found the slope in the last problem. That shouldn't be an issue, though. Agreed? All right, so let's do it kind of quick. Yes. Slope of AB. So let's do this pretty quick. So what? 2 minus 4, and then 3 minus negative 3. And I'll do it down here. What's that? Negative 2 over 6, negative 1/3. All right, let's find the slope of CD. Yep, CD. All right, so slope of CD. Let's see, negative 3 minus negative 4, negative 3 minus negative 4, and then negative 2 minus 1. And what do we get? That's a plus, that's a 1, that's a negative 3, all right? All right, look, I got negative 1/3 here, I got negative 1/3 here. What's true about those slopes? They're equal, so that means the lines are what? Are parallel to each other. Okay? So far, so good? Yeah. Let me, let's just get rid of all this stuff. Click on this, click on this, delete. There we go. All right. X and Y intercepts. You know what X and Y intercept is, right? So watch, here's your graph, okay? If you had another graph like this, what is this right here? That's the what? It's the y-intercept. It's where it crosses the y-axis. What's this? The x-intercept, okay? This right here is, how do you get to that point? It's 0, however far up, right? We'll call it y. Agreed? Okay, and then what's this point right here? Well, you go over x, and how far do you go up and down? I'm sorry. Sorry, I messed up. I was right. You go over x, and you go rise over. No, what am I doing? Why am I thinking rise over run? It's just xy, okay? How far do you go up then? You go 0. All right, so anyway, look. The y-intercept, what is equal to 0 for the y-intercept? What's equal to 0? The what? The x. Agreed? Man, I'm knocking them out like crazy. Now I got a second one down. All right, thank you. All right, so to find the y-intercept, what did I do? I set x equal to 0. To find the x-intercept, what do I do? Set the what? The y equal to 0. That's why I just went through that right there, okay? So let's do it. If I want to find the x-intercept, okay, x-intercept, what do? Set the what? Set the y equal to 0. Set the y equal to 0 where? In this thing right here, okay? So you know what's going to happen to this. I don't have to write it down. What's 2 times 0?
0.
It's 0. So what am I left with? 4x equals what? 12. What's x equal to? But we want to write it as a ordered pair. Everybody see it? Don't just write x equals 3 and that's your answer. Write it as an ordered pair. All right, so what would the ordered pair be? Well, x is 3. What's the y? 0. So that's my x-intercept right there. Make sense? All right, let's do the y-intercept. So the y-intercept, we set x equal to 0 in this thing right there. So 4 times 0 is 0. What am I left with? 2y equals 12. Divide both sides by 2. Y is 6. How do I write my answer now? It's 0, 6, because the y is 6 and the x is 0. That's my answer for the x and y intercept. We good? All right. Same thing with 11. I'm not going to do them both, again, because of time. All right, let me get rid of this. Any questions on that before I erase all this mess? I take that as a no. All right, here we go. Oh, actually, I said there was 2. We weren't doing those, were we? We're doing number 9, so there's only one of number 9. All right, what about this? The slope-intercept form. What's slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. All right. So what are we trying to do? I'm trying to change this into slope-intercept form. So what am I basically doing? I'm just solving for what? Solving for y. All right. Right here, I can do that in my head, can't I? What's the answer here? Y equals what? 3x? Negative 3x plus 1. This would be y equals negative 3x plus 1 because I subtracted the 3x from both sides. And again, I want the x, not again, it's the first time I've said it, but I want the x to go first before the number, right? So I slide that 1 over, put that minus 3x in between, y equals negative 3x plus 1. This is a little bit more involved, not too much, but let's do it. Let's get y by itself. What's the first thing we're going to get rid of? The minus 11x, right? So I've got negative 8y equals negative 11x minus 48. Everybody see what I did? I took this and I subtracted it from both sides. I just pushed this over because I want the x to go first. One more step and I'm finished. Divide by what? Not an 8. It's not an 8. It's a negative 8. What do we got against negatives? All right, that cancels out. Y equals negative over negative is positive. 11 over 8x, what's this? Plus 6. And that is in slope-intercept form. Questions? All right, so coming back to you. Haven't really got to the hard part yet, have we? Let's see, maybe this will be a little bit tougher. Standard form. All right, what in the world's standard form? AX plus BY equals C. That's standard form. Okay? So, what are we going to do? Put this into this. First thing I would do is not put it in this directly because like this negative 2 and 1 do not go like in for the A, in for the B, or in for the C. Everybody see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a slope-intercept form first, and then I'm going to take it from slope-intercept and put it into standard form. Yes? All right, so let's put it in slope-intercept form first. What's slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. All right, so let's put the stuff in here. They tell me the m, so I could put the m right here, which is what? Negative 4, right? Equals, what? What's the y? It's 1, right? Because the y right there, that's 1. So I could put a 1 right there. What's the x? It's right there. It's negative 2, isn't it? So times negative 2 plus what? B. So I can solve for the b. Anybody watching? Anybody writing this down? Okay. See, I should have kept it cold in here. I turned up the heat. Now everybody's dozing off. So, nah, I don't believe it. All right, right here, it's 8 plus b. So what's b equal to? Minus 8. 1 minus 8, negative 7. Okay? So if I was to write this in slope-intercept form, which it doesn't ask. It asks for standard form. But I put it in the slope-intercept form first, okay, and then I can put it into standard form. So what's the slope-intercept form? Y equals m. What was the m? Negative 4, right? They told me right there. x, and then all that work just to find the y-intercept. But is that my answer? Do I circle it? No, because they ask for it in standard form. So I got to take this and make it look like this. Actually, one step, and we got it. What's the one step? Then I'd have to do something else, and that would be more than one step. One step. What is it? Add the 4x. Add the 4x, okay? Because look, I want the ax and the by on the left-hand side, right? And I want just my constant, my regular number, just on the right-hand side. What has to be true about this a, though? It's got to be a positive integer, okay? No fractions. We don't have any fractions anyway, but this has to be a positive integer, okay? So add a 4x to both sides, and what do I got? I got 4x plus y equals negative 7. No, I didn't bring that over. The y's just stayed right there. I just took this. Whoops, let's circle the negative. I took this and brought it over. That didn't change at all, right? So that stays plus y. If it was a fraction like this one right here, okay, let's do that. We should have done that one first, shouldn't we? That's all right. I kind of gave you the idea how to do this. Everybody write that down? I'm getting rid of it just to make myself some room here. Okay. All right, let's do this one right here. So let's do what we did before. They tell you the slope, right? So it's y equals, what's the y? 5 equals m, which is 5/3, times x. Actually, they make this kind of easy. They don't even give you a fraction. It looks like they give you a fraction, but what's going to happen right now? I'm multiplying it by the x, which is a 3, right? And then plus b. See what happens? That goes away. Look, 5 equals 5 plus b. What do we do? Subtract a 5. What's b? It's equal to 0, right? And so now, how do we, let's write it. Y equals m. Actually, we will get that fraction, yeah. 5/3 x plus 0. So what I want to do is I want to change this and make it into this form right there, okay? Well, look, this x is already positive, isn't it? You see it? Not everybody is. Smart? Watching? You're not even looking up here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now watch, this is a little different than what I did on the last problem. Since this is already positive, I don't want to take it over to the left-hand side because it's got to stay positive. I'm going to take that y and do what? Move it to the right-hand side. So what do I get? 5/3 x, what? Move this over here. Come on, think. No, it's not plus y. It's minus y because you have to subtract the y from both sides. So you subtract the y equals what? 0. See, I just put everything on the right-hand side, but then it's equal to 0, so I just wrote it like this. Now, is that standard form? No, because you can't have a fraction. How do I make this not a fraction? I got to get rid of what? The third, okay, the over 3. I got to get rid of that. The 5 can stay there. That's fine. That's not making it a fraction, is it? It's only the 3 that's making it a fraction. So how can I get rid of that fraction? Divide? This is already being divided by 3. So I do the opposite, which is multiply by 3. Now I got to do that to everything. Not just this in the right side, but I also have to multiply what? This by 3 and this by 3. Now technically that's going to be a 0, but you still multiplied it by 3. So look what happens now. The 3's cancel. What am I left with? 5x what? Minus 3y equals what? 0, and that is in standard form. So that's how you get rid of the fraction. That's the question you asked me. That's how you get rid of the fraction. Just multiply by the denominator. But you got to do it to everything. You got to multiply everything by that denominator. Questions? Ready to move on? Okay. You can always go back and look at it. All right. This time, you're just writing it in slope-intercept form. Let's just do one of these. Yeah, I think we'll be able to finish this whole thing today, I think. If we just do one of these. Slope-intercept form that goes through these points. My guess is 15 might be a little tougher than 14, so let's do 15. All right. Slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. We all know that. Now, this time, they don't give you a point and a slope. They just give you 2 points. So what do you think you're going to find? They gave it to you on 12 and 13, but on 15, what? You're going to have to find the slope, right? All right. Now, I know my x and y. I can pick either one of these points for my x and my y. I could say 5 is my x and 4 is my y, or I could say -3 is my x and -8 is my y. Yes? I could pick either one of those points. I'm still going to get the same exact answer. It's kind of crazy that you pick 2 completely different points, but you could pick any point that lies on the line. That's what that x and y represent. The x and y represents any point that lies on that line, all right? But what's that? No, you cannot mix them because then it wouldn't be a point. Like 5, -8 would not lie on this line, okay? But 5, 4 lies on the line. -3, -8 lies on the line. But if I mix them up, that will not lie on the line, okay? All right, so what are we going to do? Find the slope. So let's find the slope. We've done that like 3 or 4 times today already, haven't we? So it's -8, what? -4, and then -3 minus 5. That's -12 over -8. What goes into both of those? 2 does, but something bigger than 2. 4. 4 goes into both of those. It's going to be positive, right? Because negative over negative. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 4 goes into 12 3 times, and 4 goes into 8 twice. So what's your slope? It's 3 over 2. So basically, it's the same problem as this now that you found the slope, isn't it? It's actually a little easier because you don't have to put it in the standard form. They just want you to keep it in slope-intercept form. Okay? So let's do it. So y equals, which point do you want to pick? 5, 4, -3, -8? Definitely 5, 4, because they're both positive. It just seems like it would be a lot easier, right? So y equals, what's the y? 4 equals m. What's the m? Just found it. 3 over 2 times x. What's the x? 5. I'm going to put it over 1 since I'm multiplying by a fraction. And then plus what? b, because I don't know it. I don't know the y-intercept. Okay? So let's do it. Does anything cancel out here? Unfortunately not. This is what? 15 over 2 plus b. How do we get rid of this? Subtract a 15 over 2, correct? What's this going to be? Let's change this. Instead of 4, we're going to make it what? Something over 2. 4 over 2 is not 4. 8 over 2 is 4. And then now we can subtract the 15 over 2. And what's b? 8 minus 15 is -7 over 2. You need to practice this, okay? Just watching me do this is not going to be enough for many of you. You're going to have to practice it. It's going to be on YouTube. You can go back and watch it, slow it down, do the steps yourself, okay? So what's my final answer then? Well, there's my y-intercept, and there's my slope. Now I just got to put it all together, which isn't that hard. What is it? Y equals m, which is 3 over 2, x, and what's my b? -7 over 2. That is the answer. Okay? All right, let's keep going. You can go back and look at it. We already talked a little bit about this, parallel and perpendicular. What do you know about 2 lines that are parallel? They have the same what? They have the same slope, okay? So it says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line described. So, look, it says write the equation of a line that goes through this point and is parallel to this line right there. So what does that tell me? I've got this line right here, and I know that the line that I'm trying to figure out is parallel to this line. So they must have the same what? Slope. So what's the slope of the line that I'm trying to figure out? It's -5, right? Because all I did was look at the slope that they give me, right? Or the line that they gave me, find the slope, -5, my slope's going to be the same. What if it said perpendicular? what would the slope be if it said perpendicular? It doesn't, but what if it did? What would the slope be? What is it? 1 over 5, positive 1 over 5. Remember, negative reciprocal, take the opposite sign, positive. Flip it, 1 over 5. If it said what? Perpendicular. It doesn't say perpendicular though, does it? This one does, but this one doesn't. It says parallel, so the slopes are exactly the same. Now what do? We've done this a couple times already. Look, they gave you a point, they gave you a slope, we got to write the slope-intercept form. Okay? So what's the slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. Let's plug in the stuff that we know. Do I know a y? 4. That's right. I look at this point right here. That's my x, that's my y. So do I know a y? Yeah, it's 4 equals. Do I know a slope? What is it? -5. That's right. I found the slope from here, didn't I? So it's -5. Do I know an x? -1. And now I solve for b, the y-intercept. So let's do it. 4 equals what? 5 plus b. Subtract a 5. What's b? -1. What do you got against negatives? All right, so now we put it all together because what do they want? They want the slope-intercept form. All right, well, I got a slope and I got a y-intercept. Let's just put it all together. Y equals what? -5x minus 1. What did we just find? We found a line that's parallel to this one, but it goes through this point right here. That's what you found. If you wanted to graph it, you could. You don't have to. They're not making you graph it. But if you wanted to graph it, you would see that this line and this line are parallel to each other. Okay, but this line goes through a point, -1, 4. All right? We good? This problem's exactly the same except it's perpendicular. And one little other thing that you got to do, they didn't write this in slope-intercept form, but that's not that hard to do. So let's do this quickly. Let's write this in slope-intercept form. What would it be? Y equals what? -x plus 4. Good. All right? So now, what's the slope of the line that they gave us? What's the slope of this line right here? It's -1, isn't it? Is that the slope that we're going to use, though? No, the slope that we're going to use, I like to put a little perpendicular thing here just to show it's a different slope than this. What's the slope of a line that's perpendicular to this? It's the negative reciprocal. So if this is negative, what's the slope of this line going to be? Positive. What's the number? It's a 1. What's the inverse, the reciprocal of 1? What if I flip 1 over 1? What do I get? 1. That's right. So the slope of a perpendicular line is 1. You got it? So the slope of the line that they gave us this line right here. What's the slope of this line? It's -1. What's the slope of the line that we're trying to figure out? It's +1. Make sense? Okay. So now let's do what we did before. Y equals mx plus b. Do I know a y and an x? Yep. From here. So what's the y? 3 equals m. What's the slope of my line now? It's just a 1 times x. What's my x? -2 plus what? Plus b. Now I can find the y-intercept. All right? 3 equals -2 plus b. Add 2 to both sides. What's b? It's 5. Put it all together. What's the slope of my line? Y equals 1x. Do I need the 1 though? Not really. What? Plus 5. That is the equation of a line that's perpendicular to this line, and it goes through this point, -2, 3. Okay? So these two lines right here are not parallel. What are they? They're perpendicular to each other. How do you know? Because this has a slope of -1. This has a slope of +1. They are negative reciprocals of each other. Okay. We good? All right, let's do this. Where's my dot? I'm going to scooch this up because I want to put a graph on here and I want to be able to see it. And the graph is white and it's not going to see it too well. I'll just scooch all this up to there. And let's just get rid of this mess. Let's see if I can get rid of all of that. Oops. There we go. Okay, here we go. Let me get that graph, by the way. Here it is. And let's go back. Come on. There we go. All right. I think I got it. All right. First one should be pretty easy for us, shouldn't it? Y equals negative 3x minus 2. How do we graph that? Go to the y-axis, right? Y-intercept is what? Negative 2. Put a point right there. What's the slope? Negative 3 or negative 3 over 1, correct? So what do? Go down 3. 1, 2, 3. Go to the right one right there. Connect them. If you wanted to, you could 1, 2, 3, 1 like this, right? Just to kind of stretch them out. 1, 2, 3, 1. Just to make sure you're kind of accurate with it. You don't have to put those extra points on there, but sometimes it's helpful. All right, so there's that line right there. Let's go to number 20, then we'll go to 19. Okay, number 20, I'll just put it on the same graph. This is x equals 3. What does that mean as far as graphing? That means it goes through the x-axis, right? Where? At 3. 1, 2, 3. I had somebody on the last test that I just graded from the CP class. Sorry to pick on the CP class, but they just finished this test, so I'm talking about them. I had several kids just put the point, nothing else. I had somebody put the point here at 3 and just did a horizontal line. Is that it? No. If it's x equals 3, what kind of line is it? It's a vertical line, so it's going to look like this. All right? So that is number 20. We got it? Okay. Now, let's do 19. Go back to blue. First of all, are we going to graph it the way it is right there? Now, what would I want to do to it to make it easy to graph? Slope-intercept form, that's right. So let's do that kind of quick. Move the 4x to the other side. So it's going to be 2y equals what? Negative 4x, what? Plus 10. Divide both sides by 2, by 2, by 2. Y equals negative 2x plus 5. Now, that's what we're going to graph. So we had to do a little extra work. No big deal. 2 little steps. Now we can graph it. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here is y-intercept. The slope is negative 2 or negative 2 over 1. So I'm going to go down 2 to the right 1. See how they're really close together? Just to make it more accurate, what am I going to do? Go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. Later on, I don't know if in this class, but I know for a fact in Algebra 2, you might have to graph 2 lines and find out their point of intersection. So knowing, like counting down, see that? That's the point of intersection, isn't it? All right? So there will be a time in algebra that you're going to have to be very accurate with your graphing, and that's why I like to do that and count down a little bit like that. Yes? They will eventually, but way up here somewhere. Yeah. And that's it. That's how you graph it. Look at that. I explained a whole entire test and took it right in front of you in one class period, right? So shouldn't be that hard to do on the midterm. All right, it's all there for you. You don't know how many times I told again, I'm picking on them again, my CP class, watch the videos, because they're asking me questions. If they would have just watched the video the night before, it would have answered their question. So please, you guys are pretty good about that. Use this to your advantage, okay? And then we will do a little more review tomorrow.